because then basically it's not all the C++ code. They can't actually steal absolutely everything, but people could make new levels and hook stuff up, and that would be kind of cool. Because then we could also host like U assets and download those, locally unpacked. So somebody could post a file, and you could download it and all that. It's not impossible. It totally would work. So what I need to do here is I need to make a sublevel, which is going to be a new sublevel here called SL multiplayer 01. And I need to take the goals and the player spawn points. I need to take those out of the persistent level and put them in the multiplayer level. Well, I just think if you had the ability, like if you're going to make a collect mission, especially if you had the ability to make a sub-level which had platforms in it, I think that's a lot more compelling than, because maybe not like sculpting a whole map and like doing all the grass and all that shit, but just like new sub-level work, totally be doable. Like, we could just like throw some more rocks in there. People can do some really cool stuff like that. And I'd have to think about exactly how to pare it down. I mean, the entire game right now actually builds in as a plugin. Maybe I could ship the binary version of the plugin without all the U assets in it. Brackenwood Minecraft. Okay, so if we take the goals, so red goal and the blue goal, and we take those out, and then we put them in this sublevel. What is this? This is a rock? Okay, so that's fine. The other thing we'd want would be the spawn point, right? Like the ball spawn. So ball spawn point would be there. So let's take a look. This should operate exactly the same as it was, because we're loading in the assets. Hello, Kinto 456. How do we deal with colorblind players? We tell them not to play the game. Disability settings for this game would be real tough for us to actually accomplish, so I don't know how the hell we deal with that, to be honest. And I don't know enough about colorblind players to even really know what the hell colors we would need. I mean, it's a good thing to actually think about, right? Like, and it's one of those things that is becoming more common in larger teams and games to have disability settings for your product, such as like alternate control schemes, so people can plug in something that allows them to use a piece of their arm as opposed to something else. I don't know, that kind of strikes me as there might be a better solution in a more general sense. Like, we could have a customized solution for your game to like swap them out, but that changes the entire art style. And I don't know, like, you'd have to have somebody specifically go make things look right, and maybe a more generic colorblind checkbox that just like takes what was some other color and just fucks with it a little bit. I don't know. course, it doesn't really help that I have perfect color vision, so for me, I'm not a good person to test any of that shit. We need like a colorblind volunteer to go play the game and tell us all the colors that are fucked up. Okay, so what sublevels here rely on the goals and the ball spawn? So like the tower level does rely on this. So let's go to the ball spawn point. We'll copy this, make this guy the current level. We'll paste the ball spawn in there so we have it. Wall jump does not have balls or goals. Precise shot does have a spawn point though. It is, I believe, we have a second spawn point here, so we don't have to worry about that. What about distance shot? Yes, that should be fine there. Okay, cool. So what we want to do now is we want to make it so missions don't load the multiplayer sublevels. So what would be a good way to do that? We could have the arena level blueprint load the sublevel at start and make it visible. Or we could have the missions unload it. It might be better to have the missions unload it just because I don't want to mess too much with the other ones. But then I need a list of sublevels to unload as opposed to a list of sublevels to load. So yeah, all right. Let's just go make the. Let's go make this default not load. So initially visible is false. So let's see what happens if I just jump in without a sublevel. Like, we shouldn't have goals. We shouldn't have a ball. So the ball trying to reset itself. We got a player for some reason. Can we spawn a bot? Where's the bot go? How come the bot could even figure out where the hell to spawn? Like, there's no spawn point. Oh, we do have spawn areas. So we can take those out and put them in the current levels. So let's see what happens if we hit play. We hit play and this is our camera. We have no spawn point, so we can't spawn it. Okay, so this will always be available. So we should go to our arena level object. And let's go to our begin play. So initial setup. So if our mission is false, we are going to do the thing. So server initialize match. There's some problems with this. Because this is the begin play of the arena level blueprint itself. It needs to like load the sublevel before everything, so maybe we should take the other tack of unloading the sublevel. Yeah, it might be the best way. SL multiplayer 01. I need to actually do a different thing here, I think. It's on the event graph. So I need to make another event here. Just call unload multiplayer sublevel. And what are we going to say? We're going to set level operation pending to true, and then we're going to set level operation pending to false after that. A little bit not super amazing, but it at least should do the thing. You're stumped. Your access to your scene is gone again. Your scene in Harmony? That's like a big problem, right? So we need to grab the player spawn point as well. So I need a spawn point for, which spawn point is that? Alright, so we need this spawn point. So paste that. So make a spawn point here. And we need another spawn point here. So let's copy that spawn point over there. Alright, so I didn't want the player spawn point is what I needed. Alright, so there we go. Scene in the server system, have to wait for it to get back. Yeah, that's frustrating. Alright, so we already have the red spawn point in this one. And do we have a spawn point there? Yes, we do. What about this guy? Do we have a spawn point? It appears to be no. So we'll throw a spawn point in. Very good. So let's save everything. And let's just boot up a standard one. So make current. Okay, so let's see if I'm in here and I go to my arena level. I go to my mission. So we need, what is this going to be? MS underscore training 02. Training 2. And use mission and editor. Yeah, so let's try that. And it's, the UI didn't do anything good, but yeah, the UI is totally screwed, but looks like our objects are pretty much there. So we at least got that going for us. And we didn't get a ball spawn. So let's see if we have any spawn, just the one spawn point. So things did work there. And alright, so if we go into arena level and you just say use mission and editor for false, then it'll pop you in with the door fault stuff. Yeah, door fault. It's a word. Alright, excellent. So that level is, I believe, finished. So I need to go to the other maps and move everything to the SL multiplayer 01 sublevel. Let's start at the top. So LV Cavern 01. So it's these 3 spawn points, and I guess the goal boxes. But first we actually have to make a level here, don't we? Create new. Inside of Cavern 01, this will be SL multiplayer 01. Alright, so this setting should be initially loaded and always visible. Okay, so if we make this current, let's make this guy current. Let's grab these 3 actors, move over to here, paste them in. And then we need the goals. What is this? That's a light mass importance volume. Let's see what we got for gold. BP goal and goal. Collision volume goals. What the heck do these do? They don't do much, do they? Alright, so we grab those guys and we paste them into the other level. So no more goals. Goals are gone. Alright. Let's jump in. Looks like we spawned in. Can we score goals though? Let's find out. Yes, we can on the right. And the left. Yeah, so if you load up just a sub-level, it just loads up, like, nothing. But I definitely want to add some thumbnails on these guys so that we kind of know what's going on with them. Did I do that for Grasslands? Multiplayer 01 does have a thumbnail, good. Alright, a new sub-level. So, multiplayer 01. Alright, and we want to go to our spawn points. Grab those guys. Paste them in. And what about our goal objects? Looks like that works. So let's grab our spawn for our red team and let's paste it in there. So we've got our sub-level spawner. Cool. So let's boot up this thing. It should spawn us in for this guy. Nice. Let's go to Forest 2. I forgot to make a nice thumbnail for that. So let's do that. Alright, so new sublevel SL multiplayer 01. Alright, so always load it in. Very good, so if we pop in, ball spawns. Mushrooms, as always, are being trolls. Whoops. And that works. So let's move on. So we already got the grasslands, so let's do grasslands too. Yeah, mushrooms are definitely doing that. So the reason we're putting all the multiplayer stuff on a sub-level is so it forces us to make actual good sub-levels that don't rely on the multiplayer stuff, and we can also more easily break out objects which are not supposed to be in the single-player missions. And of course, if we had known all the stuff about sub-levels and all this other stuff, we probably would have been making a lot more sub-levels for these levels here, and having them as parts of game options and stuff like that, where it'd be like, oh, this is, you know, at night, but it's using the different stump goals or some shit, which we might actually do in the future, so whatever. We'll find out. Though I think we're definitely switching almost all of our attentions to the Why do we have multiple goals here? Like, we've got a stump goal over here and a stump goal over here, but we also have a BP goal? What? Is it possible to score twice on the left side then? It might actually have been possible to score twice on the left goal. Here. See if... Because I made those goal objects into actual blueprints for the entire thing, just because Adam was having a lot of trouble with getting the collision right on the stumps. So it's like, get the collision right once, and then we have one object to edit. All right, so that goal was just unnecessary. I was just saying that the multiplayer stuff is definitely getting sidelined to make the single player stuff that much better. In the sense that yeah, the goals are just gone. That's actually pretty cool. Goals are toast. What is this collider thing out here? This is the spawn. Okay, that's the spawn area. That's good. Alright, so if we pop in, it should work. In the sense that I think pretty much what we're going to be working on is... Yeah, I think we need to make this sublevel static. But the multiplayer stuff, like we thought this game was going to be more multiplayer, and as Adam's art skills have improved to the point now where we can actually, whether or not the level contains static actors that aren't affected by gameplay or replication, if true, engine makes or not. I think we're going to leave that to false. And that should be a thing. I wonder how that affects lighting. I don't know how that affects lighting. Well, we'll figure it out. But basically, I think what's going to happen is update 8. Adam and I had a long conversation today since he finally got available. He is a busy man with all the Bob's work. SL Multiplayer 01 already exists. Yes, that's because I am in the wrong folder. It'll be interesting because we have some big designs for single player with a story and everything else. So we're pretty much, what it looks like is we're going to make the missions. There'll be around 200 of them, and there'll be challenges. Then we'll be working on abilities, and then we're going to be working on the single player story game. And that single player story game is going to be pretty big in terms of how it works. And that it's going to be a huge difference. It's not going to be the challenge missions. It's not going to be the multiplayer. It's going to be its own thing, which is going to be very, very different in terms of kind of part of the challenges will be in these missions inside of the single player campaign. So there'll be, very similar things to the challenge missions inside of the thing, but there'll be, special story missions. And then we'll need, there's a lot of stuff. I don't even know how much Adam really wants to talk about right now. But some exciting stuff, that's for sure. Okay, so the next problem is almost all the missions right now do not actually have any sublevels on them, so they will load up the wrong sublevel. Well, as in they'll unload the multiplayer sublevel. They won't load, they'll unload the multiplayer sublevel, and then there'll be nothing to do. So what we need to do is we need to have a new checkbox on these objects which is going to have load used multiplayer sublevel. And I'm going to need to add a warning in there that's like, if load multiplayer sublevel is false, then we need a sublevel to be loaded because not all the objects are going to be in there. So I need to go add that. So let's see, we have sublevels, and then we've also got load multiplayer sublevel. Alright. Let's see, sublevels. This will be a boolean. Array is false. This will be default is true. Alright, so we've got that generation in there. So let's go to our game data and add that to our saves. So this is on our stage. And then inside of our commands, what we need to know is if stage.load multiplayer sublevel is false and stage.sublevels.num is equal to 0, this is going to be an error. Stage doesn't load multiplayer sublevel or any other sublevel. Check it. What would be the other thing? It would be load multiplayer sublevel or sublevels. Like if we have load multiplayer sublevel as false, you should have a sublevel specified, so we should have if load multiplayer sublevel is true and you load a sublevel, should we throw a warning on that? Be like, why are you relying on the multiplayer sublevel and another sublevel? Well, that's actually fine. Like that, I can understand why you would do that. You'd be like, well, it's a normal challenge multiplayer level, but we just added some rocks in the middle of the field. All right, that makes sense. I can get down with that. So let's build that up, and then I'm going to have to modify all the collection missions to not load the multiplayer sublevel. And I need to change the arena level to check the current stages, load multiplayer sublevel. Oh man, so let's see. Get that set up. Yeah, we've got some big designs. I like the designs we have for the single player story arc. It's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be replayable, which is pretty cool. As in, it's not gonna be the same ending all the time based on what you do. And there'll also be different random events that happen as part of the story arc, which change things. You will be able to lose, and have to replay from the beginning again. That is for sure. So there'll be some aspects of permadeath to the single player story arc. Depending alternate endings, yes, it's definitely. I think it's going to be more of kind of the Nintendo style of alternate endings, which is that there are multiple endings, but like the true ending is the one where you get the farthest in the story. So stuff like that. I don't think there's going to be like 40 different endings at the end, or Mass Effect 3 style, 3 endings at the end based on what you did. It'd be like, oh, well, you were a good bitey, so you get the good ending. Like, no, I don't think so. I think we'll have different things and all that. Maybe more like Armored Core, where you can choose to be like an evil bastard. Armored Core has a really cool campaign for that, where most of the missions are all the same, but they've got some of these missions where you as a mercenary just like massacre tons of civilians. And if you take it and like do really well on the mission, it sets you up to be like on the evil campaign track, so you get to be on the opposite side on a lot of missions. And then the final mission, which is unique to the evil track, is super fucking difficult. And that was cool, where it's like all the people who were good like team up on you at the end, and it's nearly impossible. It's like people giving advice on the mission are, well, pick the railgun and then go behind this wall. The railguns stick out through the geometry of the wall, so you can shoot other people and they can't shoot you. And it's the only way to win. It's just like, damn. Yeah, I don't like the idea of like you were a bad bitey and just at the end that it's like, oh, and then you lose. Be like, no, it should be. There'll be at least some special things that happen. Bitey becomes a Yu. Bad ending. What? No. Chucks fat sack off a cliff, or absorbs his soul. Like he picks up a fat sack and the fat sack turns black. You're just like, you bastard, Bitey. You were the chosen one. You were meant to save Brackenwood, not doom it to turn it to darkness. So, that'd be the one you'd play? Exactly. See, that would be really cool to actually have, a bad ending have cool story implications. And also would allow Adam to, I think, experiment with some of the storylines without having them all be canon. So, you could ask Adam, well, which storyline actually happened in Brackenwood? And he'd be like, well, I'll tell you later. You'll be like, ah, you bastard. Alright, so we want to go through the missions that currently load in sublevels. So those are just the training missions, I believe. So let's asset actions, bulk edit. We're going to go through the sublevels, and then we're going to have load multiplayer sublevels. So each one of these guys, we want to turn you off. Export you. Everything looks like it worked. Checked everything out. And we want to go to our arena level. Where is current stage set? Is it set right out here? Yeah, okay, so that's set for us. So we should be able to get current stage and load, break it. Let's see, where are you at? Load multiplayer. So we'll branch that guy. So if this is not true, do that. So if we're not using multiplayer sublevel, do that. Alright, so set loading stage. Set up for stage. Where do we actually load our sublevels? So let's go. Alright, so load levels for stage. Alright, so if currently reset level is false, we'll unload it and then load it. Otherwise, we want at the end of this to get the current stage again, break it, and if load multiplayer sublevel is true, then we want to load our sublevel. It's just going to be SL multiplayer 01. Reset level is false. Otherwise, we want to unload sublevel, which is going to be this SL multiplayer 01. Alright, so we should be able to boot up the collection mission, and it should not load in the multiplayer objects. So if we go in here, go to single player, go to hello Brackensec, we should not load up any ball spawn points or anything like that. We don't have any player spawn points, so let's see. What levels have we got? Are we still in the UI level? No, we're not in the UI level. We have the spawn area red. Alright, well, we should at least be able to play the multiplayer missions. So we should be able to play like the pit. So it looks kind of busted. So load multiplayer sublevel is false, so we're not going to do any of that. So we're going to call load sublevel on SL multiplayer 01. How come I can't click anything? Look, we have the spawn points here. Was there something with the pit that was messed up? It's initially visible and initially loaded. I thought we had this working. I mean, if we call load again, does it just like freak the hell out? You know, what is with that? That is kind of messed up. So if we go to, it's going to be this load sublevel. Like, why would call load sublevel on a sublevel that's loaded break things? Like, I would expect this to break because we don't have a spawn point. So it looks like we need at least initial spawn points to be set for objects. Or we can spawn the object somewhere default. So it has to do with the player controller finding the spawn points. Alright, so why don't we just get an F transform here. Alright, so we need to open this for edits. Okay, so that's what we kind of need to do, is set it to this identity. So it'll spawn you in. Alright. So we also need to go to the bot spawn stuff, right? So it's in level utils.